Patriots fans, today's matchup talk comes loaded with history, rivalry, and that unmistakable feeling that whenever these two teams face each other, something completely off script always happens. This season has been an emotional roller coaster for New York, and despite all the stumbles, it's clear the roster itself isn't weak. The real issue is how, game after game, they reach the fourth quarter only for everything to fall apart in the most unbelievable ways. They've had entire matchups fought evenly from start to finish, tightly contested battles, clear opportunities to turn their season around, yet in the decisive moments the team simply freezes. Just think back to those situations that could have changed everything. There were 15 seconds left against Dallas with a 37-34 lead, and they let it slip away. Against New Orleans, they were up by 11 and still allowed the comeback. Against Chicago, against Detroit, the script kept repeating itself. You look at those games and can't help thinking, if they had closed out those matchups, they'd be fighting for the postseason right now, telling a completely different story. But here they are, carrying only 2 wins while trying to understand how a roster with so much talent can produce so little. On the New England side, the tides have turned in a way that almost feels surreal. The team hasn't lost in more than 2 months, riding a 10-game winning streak that has reignited the fan base's confidence and placed the Patriots right back among the league's top contenders. It's almost funny to think that their last loss happened way back in Week 3 against Pittsburgh in a game where New England was wearing its retro uniform. And now, coincidence or not, those same throwback uniforms are returning to the field. Fans joke that it could bring bad luck again, but with the team playing at such a high level, no one really wants to think about superstition. And when it comes to Patriots versus Giants, the year doesn't matter, the roster doesn't matter, the moment or the record doesn't matter. It's always intense, always physical, always decided in the smallest details. Recent history shows that with absolute clarity. From the 2011 clashes to the more recent showdowns, almost every single one has been decided by one possession. That's how it went in the 2023 battle, in the epic 2015 duel, and the championship games where New York managed to frustrate New England. No matter if New York is struggling or rebuilding, they always seem to find a way to make life difficult for the Patriots. And that's exactly the kind of opponent you can't afford to underestimate. The preseason already gave us a taste of what might be coming. New York stepped onto the field at full strength, steamrolled, and showed that even without shining during the regular season, they can bring intensity when the opponent is New England. Sure, in that matchup, most of the Patriots starters didn't even play, but that memory is still fresh in the locker room. And there is always that sense of revenge, that burning desire to prove that preseason game didn't reflect the team's true reality. Meanwhile, New York arrived shaken by internal changes. Beyond firing their head coach, the defense suddenly underwent a change in leadership. The new defensive coordinator takes over a unit that clearly has potential but simply wasn't delivering. The defensive line, which should be the most intimidating group on the roster, had been invisible, and that was heavily affecting the team's performance in late-game situations. Now, with a new voice calling the shots, there's always that immediate spark of energy, the famous locker room effect that comes after a leadership change. And New York needs any spark it can get if it hopes to break the cycle that's dragging them down week after week. Even with the shakeup, New York's defensive line remains a serious concern. Players like Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and Dexter Lawrence demand full attention on every snap. They're explosive, powerful, smart, and capable of blowing up a play in seconds. And now, with New England set to take the field with an offensive line weakened by injuries, the danger grows even more. The team has lost crucial pieces, is improvising with players who don't have much experience, and must rely on sheer effort to hold things together. The mission is simple to describe, but extremely difficult to carry out. Keep Drake May's pocket clean enough for him not to spend the entire game running for his life. And that quarterback duel might be the most exciting element of the night. Drake May has been playing at a star level, improving week by week and putting up numbers that place him among the league's top performers. The young quarterback has transformed the offense, bringing confidence, mobility, intelligence, and a throwing ability that only truly special players possess. On the other side, New York found new life with Jackson Dart, who introduced mobility, aggressiveness, and a style of play that completely changed the team's rhythm. Even with all the roster issues, he managed to inject energy and hope into the fan base. And despite missing some games due to injury, he enters this matchup with strong numbers, few interceptions, a solid completion rate, and a clear impact whenever he's on the field. It promises to be one of those thrilling duels that fits perfectly into the long, dramatic history shared by these franchises. All of this builds an atmosphere thick with tension and anticipation. This game has every ingredient needed to become another unforgettable chapter fans will talk about for years. Rivalry, a balanced history, bright young quarterbacks, injuries shaping strategies, two teams carrying different goals yet equally desperate for a win. New York arrives needing to salvage whatever is left of the season. New England steps in aiming to extend their winning streak and prove their success is no fluke. The energy surrounding this matchup feels like a true heavyweight showdown, the kind that goes all the way to the final minute, the kind that fans remember because these two teams simply don't know how to play an ordinary game. The build-up to this matchup grows even more intense when you look at how both teams have handled pressure throughout the season. New England, riding that remarkable winning streak, has found consistency not just in results but in identity. The offense has become smoother, faster, and more confident with Drake May commanding the field, while the defense has rediscovered the physicality and discipline that once defined this franchise. It's the type of balance that gives any team a real shot at sustaining success, and the Patriots know it. They've reached a point where every game feels like a chance to validate their momentum, to reinforce the belief that this year's team is built for something bigger. The coaching staff has leaned into that energy, daring to extend plays, trusting May to make high-level throws, and relying on their defensive veterans to set the tone early. And as the stakes rise, that trust becomes their greatest weapon. New York, however, approaches the game from a completely different emotional landscape. The frustration of repeatedly watching the fourth quarter dismantle their efforts has shaped the team's psyche in ways that aren't easy to shake. Players talk about missed opportunities, about how close they were to changing their season's trajectory, about how every small mistake seems to haunt them at the worst possible moment. And now, with the coaching changes, there's an undeniable mix of urgency and raw emotion inside the locker room. When a new defensive coordinator steps in mid-season, the entire defensive unit feels the weight of needing to prove something. Practices get louder, meetings get more intense, and the energy shifts towards showing that the team is not as broken as the record suggests. That emotional spike can sometimes create unexpected performances, the kind of one-night surge that turns underdogs into giant slayers. The fans on both sides feel the weight of all this history and context. Patriots supporters sense the possibility of another statement win that solidifies the team's place as legitimate contenders. Giants fans, on the other hand, arrive at every game torn between exhaustion and hope, knowing that while the team continues to collapse in the final minutes, they also possess the raw talent to make any matchup competitive. That duality makes New York one of the most unpredictable opponents in the league, capable of brilliance and disaster within the same quarter. And unpredictability is exactly what makes this rivalry so captivating. The Patriots know better than anyone that New York has a habit of showing up in games that feel bigger than what the standings suggest. History has shown it time and time again. Situations where the Giants were supposed to be outmatched, but still found a way to drag New England into a fight decided by inches. Coaches and players understand that, and no matter how dominant a team may seem entering the matchup, the past whispers caution. That lingering awareness adds tension to every possession, every timeout, every late-game decision. One major storyline entering this contest is how New England plans to adjust its offense to counter New York's aggressive defensive front. With injuries plaguing the Patriots' offensive line, the scheme becomes just as important as execution. Expect quick throws, designed rollouts, and an emphasis on timing routes to keep Drake May away from the chaos created by Burns, Thibodeau, Carter, and Lawrence. New England knows they can't afford to let May stand in the pocket and absorb hits from one of the most explosive defensive lines in football. The coaching staff has been preparing contingencies all week, emphasizing situational awareness and ball security, aware that a strip sack or miscommunication could tilt the entire game. New York's offense, led by Jackson Dart, carries its own set of questions and possibilities. Dart's mobility and fearlessness add a layer of unpredictability to an attack that has been inconsistent but dangerous in flashes. His ability to extend plays has masked some of the weaknesses in the offensive line, and his willingness to push the ball downfield keeps defenses from stacking the box. The challenge for Dart tonight will be balancing that aggressiveness with composure. New England's defense thrives on mistakes. They bait quarterbacks into throws that look open but close in a split second. Veterans like Jabril Peppers and Matthew Judon look for those opportunities to turn momentum in an instant. Dart will need to be sharp, patient, and willing to settle for shorter gains instead of risking turnovers that could undermine New York's rhythm. What makes the quarterback duel even more fascinating is how both players carry their teams emotionally. May has become the face of New England's resurgence, a player whose calm confidence steadies the entire roster. When he steps onto the field, teammates trust that no moment is too big, no deficit insurmountable. Dart, meanwhile, has become a symbol of resilience for New York. Every time he escapes a collapsing pocket, every time he fights for an extra yard or threads a pass through traffic, he injects belief into a team that desperately needs it. This game isn't just a statistical battle. It's a clash between two rising leaders who understand the responsibility of carrying their franchises through turbulent chapters. And there's still the wild card factor, the emotional aftermath of New York's recent coaching shakeup. A team that has struggled to finish games now enters with a new voice on the sideline, a fresh perspective, and the unspoken motivation to prove their season can still mean something. Sometimes these moments forge unity. Sometimes they create urgency that overwhelms even the strongest opponent. For the Patriots, preparing for that emotional surge is as important as preparing for the X's and O's. You can't script intensity, and New England knows that New York will come out swinging harder tonight than they have in weeks. As kickoff approaches, both teams step into a narrative far bigger than the standings. This game becomes a test of identity, of character, of who can withstand the emotional and physical pressure that defines football at its highest level. It becomes a chance for New York to rewrite a painful storyline, to finally close a game the way good teams do, to silence the ghosts of all those near wins that slipped away. For New England, it becomes a chance to reinforce their momentum, to show that the winning streak is no fluke and that they can survive adversity even when injuries pile up and the opponent is desperate. The stadium atmosphere will mirror that intensity, with every big play magnified, every mistake replayed in the minds of thousands. Fans, players, and coaches all understand what's at stake: pride, momentum, redemption, and the chance to shape the rest of the season. When Patriots and Giants collide, it's never just a regular game. It's a collision of narratives, of expectations, of unfinished business that always seems to resurface no matter how much time passes. And once the ball is kicked off, none of the records matter, none of the excuses hold weight, and none of the predictions can capture the chaos these two teams are capable of creating. The night carries the promise of drama, of the unexpected, of a game decided by inches and emotions. Whether it becomes a turning point for New York or another chapter in New England's resurgence, one thing is certain. This matchup will not fade quietly into the schedule. It will leave echoes of hits, of cheers, of heartbreak, of triumph, because Patriots versus Giants always does. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our New England Patriots. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The air in Foxborough, already thick with the chill of late-season discontent, is reportedly electric with rumors of a colossal, immediate shakeup at the very top. Highly placed sources close to the inner workings of the organization suggest that Patriots owner Robert Kraft has, with characteristic decisiveness, abruptly severed ties with head coach Mike Vrabel. The dismissal, if confirmed, sends shockwaves through the league, marking an emphatic end to Vrabel's tenure in New England after a period that, by the franchise's lofty dynasty standards, has been deemed unsatisfactory. The scuttlebutt gaining momentum across various team facilities is that Kraft's patience has finally run out following what is being privately described as a cascade of concerning performances. The decree from the owner's suite is said to be uncompromising and clear. An immediate and radical turnaround is not just desired, but demanded. This isn't just about changing the voice in the locker room. It's being whispered that the mandate extends to a complete cultural reset. The move, while shocking given Vrabel's previous ties to the organization's glorious past, signals Kraft's impatience with the current trajectory. The narrative circulating among league insiders paints a picture of a billionaire owner unwilling to accept anything less than contention, prioritizing instant results over long-term rebuilding patience. Who steps into the immense shoes left by Vrabel remains the subject of intense speculation. Names, some plucked from college ranks, others seasoned NFL coordinators, are being bandied about in hushed tones, but no frontrunner has yet emerged from the smoke. One thing is certain. The next person walking the sidelines will do so under the shadow of a non-negotiable expectation for immediate winning football. The Patriots' pursuit of a quick fix and return to prominence has just ratcheted up to a fever pitch. This could be the biggest story of the year. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our New England Patriots, be sure to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.